I want to bring in now a young man who has stepped forward to say that I want to represent the state of Arizona as a Republican to go against Mark Kelly in the election that's coming up. Blake Masters. Blake,
This is going to be boring.
Chief Operating Officer of Teal Capital. You've been Peter Thiel's partner for a long time. You co-wrote the book, a fabulous book. I think it was 0 to 1. Came out a couple of years ago. We actually had, when I was doing Breitbart Radio in the morning, we had Peter on years ago and it came out. People love that.
Was he supposed to be the captain of Peter Thiel's island oil rig country that he was going to move to and form his own country on an abandoned oil rig? And it would be just like a real country, except the United States Coast Guard would provide security. You get all the benefits of being a U.S. citizen and none of the bills.
Love that book. A great book on being an entrepreneur. In fact, you are an entrepreneur. You're a venture capitalist, but you're
the most important thing is you're a used book collector, and that's the most important thing.
You're Arizona. You're in Arizona.
He is Arizona. He is the welcome. I didn't know if you knew that Arizona's
a guy, right? I think you met your wife in middle school out there. What's your story?
That's right.
Wait, was he in middle school too, dude? We have to ask. I mean, considering the circles you run in, Steve Bannon. Please tell me he was in middle school when he met his wife in middle school.
Ties to Arizona.
Yeah, I grew up here in Tucson, and
I started hanging around middle schools when I was about 25, and had a great idea for some software that allows you to track some, like a 12-year-old girl in her habits.
met my wife, as you said, in middle school.
It was Greensboro Middle School in Arizona. I was an assistant to the assistant vice principal. Wasn't an official title. I used to just skulk in the playground.
In Tucson, I stayed here through high school, and
As soon as she graduated and it was no longer a crime.
Went to Stanford Law School. That's where I met Peter Thiel. He came and taught a class. We wound up taking that class on startups, on entrepreneurship, and turning it into a book, 0 to 1, published in 2014.
Oh, so you just stole your professor's ideas and turned it into IC.
I've sold a couple million copies of that, and I've been working for and with Peter ever since. I run his nonprofit foundation, and also
all men are working for and with Peter at any given time.
So his investment firm. And you know Peter, Steve, we were all involved in the Trump transition team together, and he's always involved in politics and always causing trouble. So it's been a pleasure to do some interesting things with him.
Yeah, that's what you want in a politician. I want my politicians to cause trouble.
I don't think people realize that.
I don't think, because honestly, I think we can all agree there isn't enough trouble in the world. It's the one thing missing.
Peter Thiel was so important in the transition and really trying to of the disruption of the administrative state. Peter came in and said, hey, I want to bring a team in and really look through particularly
everything that's secret. I want to bring in a team of people and just go through anything that's top secret that could benefit me financially in the future. I mean, this is really like a gold mine.
The Cancer Institute, FCC, all the alphabet agencies, the entire administrative state. I think you headed that team that really tried to deconstruct it and say, here's what we want to do. And the blowback by the administrative state, and not just that, their allies in the Uniparty was just, I think it's a lesson, Blake, that you will not soon forget, right? It was
real.
Gotta try that. It's amazing when you just kind of roll in as a dude who helped an Uber billionaire from, who created PayPal, and then eBay, and they can't even use PayPal anymore. It's amazing how when you roll in and tell people whose jobs are to protect the lives of other people how to do their job, they tell you to fuck off. It's weird, isn't it?
Real wake-up call. No, you will.
Yeah, it's almost like I went from an optional industry to a necessary one, started bossing everybody in a necessary group around like they were in an optional group, and weird.
Elect a president to go and be a change agent, to go and actually shake it up. And we saw the unelected bureaucracy almost from day one. And they were ready. They were ready to go. They reared their ugly head. And what you want to call it, the establishment, the uniparty, the machine, they were ready to make sure.
I don't know, which one's branded the most? Have we done a focus group on this? Blake, you and Peter should know that if we're going to do these kind of things, you have to get a focus group together. We can't just shotgun any name out there like Trump does with this call. There's 20 names for it. Nail it down. I mean, have we read the one thing or not?
That President Trump's agenda would be thwarted from day one.
Before we go to break, we got a
Yeah, but by him.
couple of minutes to break, and then we're going to bring you back in the next segment. Most people, like you, grow up conservatives. They come from a great state of Arizona. They got great parents to do this, and they go to Stanford, and something happens, right? You come out you're like Rachel Maddow, right? You don't come out like Blake Masters now. How did you go to?
Well, I don't know that she went in any different than she came out. No one radicalized. Are you suggesting she became a lesbian because she went to Stanford? I mean, in all fairness, his haircut is very close to Rachel's every so often,
Go to Stanford.
Just saying, when she gets a fresh cut.
And not get totally changed to come back and be some progressive lefty.
At Stanford. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I knew who I was going in. I think my parents.
Yeah, I knew I was, and my girlfriend, she was in middle school still, and
Did a good job. I was raised with commonsensical conservative values. I grew up Christian, and I just knew who I was going.
Are you one? Because I'm going to guess if you're hanging out with Peter Thiel, you're not. I know you've got a cross. He's got a cross hanging on his wall, visible in the background. But when people say I grew up Christian, it's usually what they say when they're no longer a Christian.
I was going in. I was a lot more libertarian then. I was on the Ron Paul train in 2008. I had a preference for John McCain over Barack Obama, for instance, but in 2008, it still seemed to me like that was a uniparty. So I was a Ron Paul libertarian, reading Mises and Hayek and all that stuff. Have gotten more conservative over time. But
Oh, so you realize that was bullshit and that you should have been all in on McCain if you actually cared about your values, but there was no money in it.
one thing I saw a lot of at Stanford was just progressivism and how dangerous that ideology is. Most kids just go in to college. They actually have ambition. They think different things. You come out of this elite college machine, basically brainwashed, indoctrinated, dyed-in-the-wool progressive. It's pretty scary stuff.
Okay, Arizona.
Yeah, I'm frightened.
Arizona is obviously ground zero for two things. The 3 November project, as the Patriots out in Arizona move forward. It's got the border and one of the most open borders in the country. And so we're going to talk to Blake Masters, who's running for the United States Senate, about what his positions are and what he's prepared to do. Action, action, action as a United States Senator to basically get to the
is the gin kicking in, Steve?
bottom of November 3rd, to get to bottom of election integrity, and also
And at the bottom of the, middle schools in
to
Arizona.
stop the invasion that's happening in the United States of America from the southern border.
The invasion. Oh, it's an invasion. That's right. Well, yeah, how you respond to an invasion, it's obviously it's a military act. You have to respond with a military action yourself. Otherwise, what are you even doing? Do you not recognize that this is an invasion? We've got to open. I know you. They look like 8-year-olds to you, but they're little. When you see an 8-year-old crying in the desert, I see a ticking time bomb.
Today, later in the show, we're going to go to this protest about the genocide games, anti-Beijing, anti-CCP. They've been designated a genocide regime. Also going to get breaking news out of Cuba. They cut off the internet. They cut off the phone. This is how Marxism works, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get to all of it.
Yeah, we would have had much more direct lines with the people if Trump hadn't scuttled the opening between us and Cuba at the request of Vladimir Putin.
Return in a moment with Blake Masters, running for the Senate in Arizona, next in the War Room.
Oh, I'm super excited. By the way, I'd initially thought that the name of the show, by the way, is War Room Pandemic, and they have not dropped that logo, even though they largely sell the idea that it was a plandemic and that it isn't real. But I do see some consistency in the use of the biohazard symbol, considering the myriad of skin diseases that it is clear that Steve Bannon has. Ooh, a barf barf.